Imagine tucking yourself into bed in the quiet, absolute comfort of your own home, only to wake up and find your entire town completely wiped off the map. No massive explosion, no invading army, literally zero warning. Just a deafening, eerie silence where a vibrant community used to be. Families vanished, buildings sat totally abandoned, and within just months, nature violently swallowed up everything. The homes, the streets, the memories, almost overnight. Now, this isn't the plot of some dystopian movie. This is the true, terrifying story of Centralia, Pennsylvania, and the deeply shocking reason why a literal nightmare unfolded right beneath their feet. Section 1. The Hidden Coal Labyrinth, a thriving town above a sleeping giant. To really grasp the scale of this mystery, we have to rewind to the early 1900s. Centralia was booming. It was full of life, full of promise. Coal mines provided rock-solid jobs, local shops were always packed, and kids played safely in the streets. Everyone living there thought they had this bright, prosperous future ahead of them. But that was just above ground. Below ground, that was a completely different story. Miles upon miles of abandoned, totally unmonitored coal tunnels stretched silently right beneath those homes and schools. For decades, it was out of sight, out of mind. A false sense of security built blindly on top of a highly flammable, forgotten labyrinth. Section 2. One fatal routine mistake. 1962. All those decades of peace? They were about to literally go up in smoke. In 1962, a completely mundane, everyday chore sealed the town's fate. Workers were handed a simple task: clean up a local landfill, get rid of the trash. So a routine fire is started to burn it off. Standard procedure, right? Well, the fire unexpectedly spreads underground. It reached deep down into those old, forgotten coal tunnels resting beneath the town. A basic neighborhood cleanup had just ignited an unstoppable underground inferno. The initial reaction from the local government was a catastrophic miscalculation. Officials firmly believed the fire would just burn out on its own. Man, were they wrong? They completely underestimated the massive threat lurking right under their shoes. They just assumed the earth would naturally smother the flames and everyone could go on with their lives. Section 3. The creeping underground terror when the earth comes alive. By the time engineers finally tried to step in, the terrifying reality set in. It was already too late. Look at how this unfolded. In the first few weeks, officials basically ignore the hidden spread, crossing their fingers it'll fade away. But weeks slowly turn into months, and the fire relentlessly grows, aggressively feeding on those massive interconnected veins of coal. And as those months bleed into years, the inferno becomes absolutely impossible to extinguish. What began as a tiny, contained trash fire quietly mutated into a permanent subterranean monster. And here's the truly terrifying part: how this monster actually showed itself to the people living right on top of it. The symptoms were visceral and impossible to ignore. The ground literally felt warm to the touch. Plumes of smoke started emerging from random cracks in the earth. People's beautiful backyard gardens were inexplicably dying from the roots up. Basements started filling with dangerous, unseen gases. And maybe the creepiest part? People reported hearing strange, shifting sounds echoing beneath their floorboards. It was as if the earth itself was alive, and it was getting hotter every single day. Eventually, the hidden fire violently breached the surface. Roads suddenly cracked wide open, splitting the asphalt right down the middle. Steam rose from the dirt in these eerie, ghost-like plumes, and a silent, invisible killer, toxic carbon monoxide, started leaking into the air. The tension was off the charts. Families were terrified. Parents were incredibly worried for their kids. Yet, a lot of residents stubbornly refused to leave. This was their home, their memories. They were fiercely gripping onto a town that was actively burning away right beneath them. Section 4. The backyard sinkhole collapse, the turning point. All that stubborn resilience brings us to the terrifying climax that finally broke the town's resolve and stunned the entire country. 100 feet deep. That is the unimaginable size of a sudden sinkhole that opened up in a backyard without a single second of warning. A young boy was out there just playing, having a totally normal day, when the ground beneath him completely collapsed into a gaping, fiery maw. Deadly gases instantly poured out, trapping him in a literal nightmare. For a few agonizing, heart-stopping moments, this kid was caught in the jaws of the subterranean monster. By some absolute miracle, he was pulled out before the earth could claim him. But that near-death incident, that was the final straw. It changed everything. The government was finally forced to face reality. Centralia could not be saved. They initiated massive buyouts and forced relocations. One by one, families packed their bags and left. Bustling businesses closed their doors forever. The schools shut down. The town slowly, agonizingly died. Those lively streets we talked about at the start of this explainer were replaced by boarded-up windows and overgrown empty lots. Section 5. The 200-Year Fire, the Eternal Flame. The state of this abandoned ghost town today is incredibly haunting. 60 years. That is how long this fire has been aggressively burning beneath the surface. Walk through Centralia today and most of it is just gone. Nature has entirely reclaimed the streets. The buildings have vanished. Only a tiny, stubborn handful of residents legally remain. But down below, in the dark, entirely out of sight, that fire is still raging over 6 decades later. And the sheer scale of this disaster is even more staggering when you look at the projections. 200. That is the estimated number of years experts believe this fire will continue to burn. Let that sink in. This subterranean inferno is so massive, so deeply embedded in the Earth's coal veins that it will easily outlive all of us. It will outlive our kids and their kids. An eternal flame, sparked by one single careless pile of trash. Which brings us to the ultimate chilling lesson of this explainer. What you really need to take away from this is that not all disasters announce themselves with a massive, sudden explosion. Sometimes a disaster doesn't happen in seconds. It happens slowly, deliberately, 1 year at a time. It's a haunting, permanent reminder that one simple, routine mistake can escalate into an eternal catastrophe. An entire, thriving American community was literally erased, consumed from the bottom up, slowly fading into a ghost town. So I want to leave you with a provocative question to really think about. Imagine being told that your hometown, everything you know, everything you love, was going to just disappear forever. If your town was slowly being swallowed by an unstoppable force beneath your very feet, what would you do? Would you stubbornly stay and fight for your home and your memories? Or would you leave everything behind to start over somewhere else? Let me know your answer in the comments below.